Merry Meet! Thank you so much for joining me today. We are working a psalm spell today, and today we are working on Psalm number 4. Now, Psalm number 4 has a couple of traditional uses, one of which is interesting, is to cure insomnia. And we're not using it for that today, but it's a very interesting way to work on insomnia is by using Psalm number 4. So you may want to try that if you're having problems with insomnia. But today what we are working on is justice, especially legal justice. So if there's anybody that's been unjustly treated, or if you're having any legal issues where justice really needs to be done, any kind of injustice though will be taken care of with this psalm spell. It's not a real long psalm, so we should get through it pretty quickly, but it does pack quite a punch. So, the way we work these psalm spells is very, very simple. We take the psalm and we read it out loud all the way through once without stopping. This is known as an incantation. And then once we're finished with the incantation, we go back through the psalm and we go through it a second time. This time we go very slowly and we search through the psalm verse by verse, sometimes line by line, sometimes even word by word, and we find hidden meanings, and we find those little packets of magic seeds deep within the psalm. And by the searching and the contemplating and the digging and the work that we do, we are actually like plowing the fields and planting the seeds deep within our deep mind. And these seeds in a very real way take root and grow and bear fruit after their own kind. And that's what we're going to do together right now with Psalm number 4. Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. O ye sons of men, how long will ye turn my glory into shame? How long will ye love vanity, and seek after leasing, Selah? But know that the Lord hath set apart him that is godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call unto him. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed, and be still, Selah. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness, and put your trust in the Lord. There be many that say, Who will show us any good? Lord, lift thou up the light of thy countenance upon us. Thou hast put gladness in my heart, more than in the time of their corn, and their wine increased. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. All right, so now we just go through and work the magic. And it's pretty easy. We just really ask our inner teacher to take us through the psalm and to help us find these inner meanings. So it starts out with, Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. So the Lord of the Psalms is called here God of my righteousness. So God of my righteousness, we have to determine who it is that we're addressing. So this is not a separate deity. This is not like Apollo or Artemis or Yahweh. Okay, this is the Godhead on top of the tree of life. This is the one power, the one source, the one substance, the one life. There's one life that we all share. There's one mind that we all share. There is one source. There's one substance. And the God of my righteousness, so God of my righteousness is indicating that this power is the true power, and what's true is what is righteous. And anything that is not true, it's not only that it's not righteous, it's not real. It doesn't really exist. Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. So when we, there's two ways to look at this. One way is that you're looking back on all the times that you've been helped when you were in distress. But the other way to look at this is that it's a magical device to put our desires for the future as in the past tense, so that we can see them as something that's already been accomplished, and that expedites our success in our spell casting. Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. Now, when you're asking for mercy to be called upon you, you are calling specifically on sphere number 4 on the tree of life, which is the sphere of justice, the sphere of legal justice, as well as prosperity, as well as luck, as well as good. So, when you are needing any kind of justice to be done, and you call upon mercy, mercy is the sphere number 4 on the tree of life, which is Jupiter. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. Well, of course, God always hears our prayer. There's nothing God's not stupid. God, of course, hears our prayer, but we are putting ourselves in line with the fact that we have something worthwhile to say, therefore listen to me. So when we are asking for our prayer to be heard, we are acknowledging that how we are wording or orienting ourselves in this spell is worthy. O ye sons of men, how long will you turn my glory into shame? Okay, now this is as if God was talking to us. Okay, so this is the psalmist fantasizing about how God is speaking to him. Okay, so, O ye sons of men, how long will ye turn my glory into shame? Now, a son of man is different than the sons of men. The son of man is our higher self, but these sons of men are speaking of our individual little egos, our individual little lives, our individual little selves, that we believe are separate from each other and separate from our good. So, O ye sons of men are speaking to us as if we perceive ourselves, when we perceive ourselves as being less than, as being separate, as being vulnerable, as being unsafe, as being open to attack. So, ye sons of men, how long will you turn your glory, my glory, into shame? So it's also showing us how we separate ourselves, and that is by taking what was meant to be glory, meaning that which glows. That glory it's you're as a sunbeam is to the sun. That's who you are. That's how you were created. You were created with all glory, with all the power of a God. The Psalms even state that in very clearly, ye are gods. So that's how you were created. And so when you start to think of yourself as being separate, that is when you start thinking of yourself as being ashamed. Remember in the Garden of Eden when God figured out what happened once they realized that they were ashamed of themselves, that they were ashamed that they were naked. That is how we separate ourselves, is through shame. How long will ye love vanity and seek after leasing? Selah. So, loving vanity and seeking after leasing, loving our thoughts, meaning that we can think thoughts that are separate from God. That we want to be better than God. We want to be bigger than God. We want to separate ourselves, distinguish ourselves from God. How do you do that? How is it even possible to distinguish yourself from perfect love, from perfect life, from perfect wisdom? Well, by coming up with, by using your powers that you were created with, your magical powers that you were created with, to start coming up with concepts which are abominable, such as since I want to be separate from God, the only way to be separate from perfection is imperfect. The only way to be separate from all good is to be bad. There's something wrong with me. There's something bad about me, right? So that's what seeking after loving vanity and seeking after leasing is. The only way to be vain is to try to think of yourself as separate from perfection. The only way to do that is by trying to prove to yourself and to God how imperfect you are and how God messed up. Okay? And that's definitely not what we want to do anymore. That's how we get into trouble. But it's also impossible. What we're trying to do is impossible. Just be clear on that you can't separate yourself from God, but you sure can make it seem like you did, because you have the powers that you were created with to do that. Now, God will only put up with that for so long, and then eventually will return you to sanity, because God's will be done no matter what. But you do have free will to think anything you want. but know that the Lord hath set apart him that is godly for himself. Very clearly, the truth about you is mine. I own your soul. That's what God's basically saying. What we're saying here is God owns you. God created you. God has authority over you. God loves you, and God gave you free will, but God only recognizes the part of you that is what God created. All that other fantasy stuff that you're dreaming, all the ways that you're trying to prove that you're wrong and bad and evil and things don't work for you, God does not keep that for God's self, because God does not see that, because that is not real. That is not true. That is not what God created. And if God didn't create it, it does not exist. But we can think it does within this world, within this realm of illusion that we have created for ourselves. And better than created, it's more of a projection that we have here. True creation couldn't be like that. True creation can't be destroyed, right? You can't be destroyed. You were truly created. The Lord will hear when I call unto him, because you are a sunbeam to the sun. You have all channel of communication always open to you. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. So standing in awe means, whoa, I was created so perfect. I can't even recognize myself as God sees me. I can't even recognize myself because it's so awesome. I am so awesome because that's how I was created. I'm not taking personal credit for that, but how awesome is it? So I'm standing in awe. To sin not means I'm not going to start considering how bad I am anymore. I'm not going to consider how bad the world is anymore. I'm not going to start doing that. I'm not going to start coming up with ways that things are, that I'm not good enough anymore. I'm not going to try to prove that God messed up anymore. That's ultimately what sinning is. Now, sinning is an archery term. It's true. It does mean that you made a mistake, that you missed the mark. Now, when you're trying to do archery and you're trying to practice, you can't. You have to let go of the arrow so that you can try to hit the bullseye, right? So when you let go of the arrow and it doesn't hit the bullseye, what do? You get another arrow and you try it again, and you try it again, and you try it again, and you try it again until you become skilled. But you can't ever get any kind of bullseye if you pull back on the arrow and you go and you don't let it go, right? So you got to keep letting it go. You got to keep giving it your best. You got to keep trying. And if you sin, it means that you just didn't make the mark yet, and you're going to try it over again until you get good at it. That's what they really mean by stand in awe and sin not, meaning get it together and get better at what you're doing. Get more skilled so that you can hit that bullseye, because God really needs your skill right now. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. That is ultimately what our meditation is, because if you're communing with your heart, you're communing with your deep mind. If you're communing with your deep mind, you're communing to that part of you where God lives, where God created you. So you're communing with your soul. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. Now, the sacrifices of righteousness. So when you are sacrificing, in this sense, they are not sacrifices meaning, I have to give up everything I love. That's not the sacrifice that we're talking about. We're talking about offerings. We're talking about giving offerings of righteousness. Think of everything that you do as an offering to the infinite love of the universe, of your right thinking, of your right acting. That is a type of offering. It's a type of giving. Now, not to say that you can't do offerings like of food and things like that to the ancestors. That's fine. It's wonderful. But that doesn't even begin to touch the kind of offerings that we're talking about. We're talking about offering up your life, offering up your best behavior, offering up your best thoughts. And trusting in the Lord, meaning that you trust that the universe knows what it's doing. You trust that this power of infinite intelligence is smarter than you and has not only the power but the desire to bring you out of whatever this problem is and into the justice that is your birthright. There be many that say, who will show us any good? Yeah, you will always be able to find that. Just turn on the news. Just talk to people. Just go on Facebook or go on Instagram. All kinds of people are telling you nothing is good. Nobody's any good. You can't trust anybody. Everything's bad. Everything's bad. So if that's where you're going to look for your data, that's the kind of data you're going to get. So don't look to people because they're always going to say, who will show us any good? But Lord, lift up the light of thy countenance upon us. Well, when you say that lifting up the light of God's countenance on us, God's face, God's countenance, what's the face of God? What is a face? What does a face represent? That's how you can recognize. That's how you can recognize someone, is by their face, right? That's one of the ways that you can recognize someone, is by their face and by their voice, right? So the countenance here is talking about qualities of God, qualities of Spirit. How do you know it's God? Because of the qualities of God. Remind yourself of the qualities of God constantly. God is infinite intelligence. God is infinite life. God is infinite truth. God is infinite justice. God is infinite love. God is perfect love. God is divine law. God is all soul. God is all spirit. All those things, all good. And so that's the light of God's countenance, is considering those qualities. It's very practical. Don't think of this as being something supernatural, right? It's very, very natural. It's very, very practical. It's right within you. And that's the power of it, is that something you can really do and really access. That's real magic. It's not silliness. It's not child's play. It is in the right way of child's play, but it's not silliness, okay? Thou hast put gladness in my heart, more than in the time of their corn. More than in the time that their corn and wine increased. Okay, so when you talk about their wine and corn increasing, that can be a couple different things. Now, for us with this, if this is dealing with an injustice, right, that you're wanting to right, it can appear that their wine and their corn increased even though they were unjust to you. But God put gladness in your heart more than that. So your gladness trumps all of that. Your gladness was not put there that you have to find. It was put there by God. All you have to do is be open to it. All you have to do is feel it. And it doesn't matter if other people seem to be succeeding, even though they're unjust, because you know that your gladness outshines all of that. And that gladness is a sure sign to you that this power is working on your behalf and justice is now served in the highest way possible. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. So you know that all is well when you can sleep peacefully. You rest in peace and then you wake in joy. And if you're not resting in peace and waking in joy, then you keep coming back to the psalm again and again and again until you find that peace. That when you go to sleep at night, that you know all is well, that you know that you're taken care of, that justice is yours, because that's what is happening. That is the truth of the matter. And once you recognize that by having a good night's sleep, then you know without a shadow of a doubt that this spell has taken and that you have nothing to worry about. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. So it's nice to know that there's only one thing that you have to worry about. That one thing that you have to recognize is that safety is your birthright. And it comes from one place and one place only, and that's the infinite. And that's the only power that exists. There's only that one power, only that one force, only that one source, only that one substance. Nothing can oppose it. Nothing can thwart it. Nothing can stand in its way. So if God be for you, who can be against you? One with God is a majority. And when we say God, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about that pre-gender Godhead. This is not a male deity or a female deity. This is not part of the patriarchy or not trying to create a new matriarchy. None of that. This is the one power of the universe. And it has all power. And since you are plugged into that power, you are plugged into perfect justice, and nothing can oppose you. Well, this has been amazing for me. I am so happy that you've joined us today, and just keep coming back to the psalm again and again until you start seeing movement in the right direction according to your purpose. And we will do some more of these again, and I can't wait to work with you again. And until that time, blessed be.